up front. I am psychic. That's because I have a vision, and that vision is that together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Well, it's not original. That is the new vision statement of Rotary International that was introduced just earlier this year by Rotary International President Barry Rassin. So people of action, thank you. It's great to be here. And I wanted to start out by mentioning that, of course, our theme this year is Be the Inspiration. So, I asked President Donna, who is a person that inspires you? Inspires your club and someone who has taken great action to lead your Rotary Club to great heights. She had a difficulty in determining who that person was because there are many, many good members of this club who are involved, interested, and take action. But there is one person who is a past president, who is very involved in Rotary Foundation work, is the District Rush chairperson, and has done amazing things for this club. So J.G. Wolf, thank you for being a person of inspiration. I wanted to tell you who inspires me. I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but you've heard somebody say it before. The most important person in Rotary is the club president. Without the club president, the club doesn't see the good direction and the good leadership. Donna, thank you for your leadership the second time around. Thank you for everything you do. And I do have to mention the fact that past district governor Arnold King is here, and he's done wonderful things not only for this club but for the district and the Rotary world. So Arnold, thank you for all your service. Now today I'm going to talk about a Rotary story, our Rotary story, my Rotary story. As Jim said, I joined Rotary in 1998. And I will tell you, I was not the model Rotarian. I did not do anything. I didn't go to the meetings, I didn't make friends, I wasn't involved in any activity. And after a couple of years, I got what I call the happy letter. I got a happy letter from my club that says, we have attendance requirements, and you are violating those requirements. You are not attending, and if you don't shape up, you are out. So I was told I could write a letter and ask for forgiveness. So I did. I wrote a letter and I was forgiven and I was able to, to go back. But then I would just go for lunch. I'm with Summit Rotary, we meet for lunch on Friday, so I'd just go for lunch and I'd leave before the program started. I coined the term the beat it table because I'd sit at the table next to the door, eat lunch, and then beat it. So I am not the example of a stellar Rotarian, but then something changed. In 2003, I was instructed to go to the fall seminar in Clemens. At the same time, I was assigned to be the club's international service chair. I went to the fall seminar in Clemens and learned about the Rotary Foundation. And I believe it was Everett Paget who was giving that talk, and something just woke up in me. I was also international service chair, and at that time, a man named Jack Reynolds was with the Gate City Club, and his brother-in-law, Father Mark Boisvert, was a retired Navy chaplain who spoke French and aided the Navy in the Haitian boat lifts that occurred back around 1992-93. The Haitians had come to the U.S., they were turned away, they went back to Haiti, and he, speaking French, was dispatched to Haiti and found that there were large numbers of homeless children, street children. He gathered those kids together, and it started with 15 children and ultimately formed an orphanage. Now the Navy told him after a certain time that he was going to be assigned somewhere else, but he said, no, I'll be staying here. So he left the Navy, and 25 years ago, he started the orphanage, and he's still there today with the kids. Now, Haiti, I don't know if many of you have been there, I've been there twice, is not the same as the United States. Being 500 miles from the shores of Florida, it is a different world. There's no clean water, intermittent power, unemployment is over 50%. Many people live in houses with dirt floors. There's no infrastructure, there's no trash collection. The children are not educated, and people are lucky to have 2 meals a day. The children many times are abandoned because their parents can't take care of them. The girls, many times, who are abandoned, are then picked up and become what's known as restavek. They become domestic servants in homes. The boys, however, are not as pliable, and they resent and resist that type of placement, so they live on the street, and those are the boys that Father Mark found. He collected them, 15 of the boys, 25 years ago. There are now over 300 boys, and now there are some girls as well, but mostly boys at the orphanage. So Jack Reynolds, who was the brother-in-law of Father Mark, who was at the Gate City Club, approached me and said, we're doing this matching grant in Haiti, so why don't you learn about it and then promote it to your club, and so the club can be part of the matching grant. We call it now a global grant, but then it was a matching grant. So I said, okay, and he said, well, and so we got my club's support and some other clubs to support it, but then he said, why don't you come to Haiti with me? So I did. And that's how I was able to find the conditions that I just described to you. I went back 5 years later. I wanted to see what had happened. Unfortunately, nothing had happened. There had been no improvement in the life of the towns that I saw. The orphanage had grown in size. They were making progress by educating the kids and feeding the kids, but the thing that really struck me, and I think one of the reasons I'm a Rotarian today, is the kids in the intervening 5 years who should have aged out, the 18-year-olds, the 19-year-olds, and the 20-year-olds, were still at the orphanage. They didn't leave because they were mentoring the younger kids. This was family. And that's what gave me the sense of connection and caring about one another. Jim was talking about the satisfaction he gets with reading to the kids and the connection that he forms. It's that connection that is what Rotary is all about. So that's where I learned about, being inspired and just the thought of service and helping one another and doing it on a real individual level. So I'm going to talk about the number one internal goal of Rotary, which is membership. Now, many times people will say to us, what is Rotary? Our answer will be, it's a service organization. Or our answer might be, it's the world's largest service organization. But I submit to you, we are not a service organization. We're a membership organization. Service is our product. It's what we do. There are 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. There are 35,000 clubs. We're in over 200 countries. Rotary has more presence around the world than countries represented at the UN. We are a vast organization, and we consist of dedicated, impassioned people who want to do good in the world. But if we're not growing, we're stagnating. And if we're stagnation leads to death. So we need to grow our membership. Why do we need to grow the membership? So we can do more good work. So I like to say that Rotary is a place where friends get together, have a good time, and do good work. It's just that simple. So we have to have fun, have to be lively, and we have to feel the value in belonging to Rotary. So we want active, engaged people. Now let me give you 3 ideas that seem to work with membership development. The first is, if Rotary is a place where friends get together, have a good time, and do good work, why not invite your friends to Rotary? Invite your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues. You might find that they see the same value that you see, and the reason that you come here every week. So bring a friend. They just might want to join and be a part of our great organization. Now, another tactic that is going on and just developed is happening in Greensboro. The Gate City Club meets Thursday morning, so we'll have our rodeo there tomorrow. They meet Thursday morning, but every Tuesday afternoon, a member of the Gate City Club sends an email to the entire club. And the email this week, yesterday, said 505 GIAs. What that means is that anybody in the Gate City Club can go to GIAs, which is a bar restaurant on New Garden Road, at 5:05 for happy hour today. That's it. There's no planning, there's no expense, there's no nothing. They just identify a place and put it on an email and say, go there if you like. Well, they've been doing this for 3 years. It's a different place every week. I'm going this afternoon to GIAs, but there might be 2 people, there might be 10 people or 15 people. But Gate City's been doing this now for 3 years. And don't you know that they invite their friends and then the friends join Gate City Rotary? That's how they're getting new members. And so they've opened it up now to all 8 clubs in Greensboro. So now other clubs are going, they bring their friends and those clubs are getting new members. How simple is that? So it's just expanding on the idea of friends getting together, having a good time. It doesn't matter where we get together, having a good time and doing good work. Now the third idea is a little bit more ambitious, but this club can do it. Rotary International President Barry Rassin believes that the path to future membership growth is by doubling the number of Rotaract clubs. And he's saying community-based Rotaract clubs. Now our district does not have a community-based Rotaract club yet, but this club could do it if anybody could do it. A community-based is not one that is on a college campus. It is one that is young professionals putting their roots in the community, starting their families, building their career. They don't necessarily have the time or the money to join Rotary, but they would like to be together with people of like-minded ideas, but have access to an established Rotary club for the networking opportunities that Rotary provides. And they, when they then become established and more successful, will want to fly up and become Rotarians. President Barry believes this is the path for the future generational growth of Rotary. So think about forming a community-based Rotaract club. Now I'm going to talk about the Rotary Foundation, and first I'm going to talk about local and then global activities. Just a few statistics for you to know about our community. And by the way, our community, our district, is 15 counties in central North Carolina. These statistics apply. First of all, the level of poverty in terms of income for a family of 4 is $25,300. For one person, that's about $12,000. That's considered poverty level. 20% of adults in our communities, in our district, live in poverty. 25% of our children live in poverty. That's 31% higher than the national average. 50% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. 25% of our kids are food insecure. What that means is that many children are hungry during the weekend. When they come to school Monday morning, they're hungry and they're fed, but they don't start to learn until Wednesday. We have a problem with food and hunger in our community, and we all know this because the Rush Project, Rotarians Unite to Stop Hunger, was started 3 years ago. Past District Governor John Spillman began that effort, and it's been successful. Every club in our district has a Rush activity, and we leave it up to the clubs because you know best what programs and what efforts you can take to help or to know that our kids are being fed. But it's a problem that still exists, and so now I want to get into what we're doing. We have done, we all do our local club projects for hunger alleviation, but this will be the first time in 10 years that our district will have a global grant in which it's an in-district recipient. Now, global grants are large projects. They're usually a minimum of $35,000. Many of our clubs throughout the district participate in global grants, and they usually are to help countries overseas or developing countries for schools or health and education or literacy projects. Pam Ray has a global grant growing in Pakistan, but this time, this global grant is going to help us in our district. This is what it is. It's a community garden project. Out of the Garden, which is a food resource pantry on Highway 68, you probably know about Out of the Garden, A&T University, Guilford County Public Schools, and Rotary are partnering together for a community garden. It is a global grant, and here's how it works. City of Greensboro gave some land to Out of the Garden, and it's at a rec center in East Greensboro. On that property, the students from A&T and Guilford County Public Schools, being taught by their teachers and professors, will grow, harvest, market, promote, sell, distribute high-priced herbs. Basil sells for $60 a pound. They're going to grow high-priced herbs and then sell them to restaurants, retirement homes, hotels, and other users of large quantities of high-priced herbs. The income, so what they're doing is they're taught a trade, they're taught entrepreneurial skills. So this global grant is under the area of focus of economic development. These kids are being taught a trade. The money from the income from selling the herbs will then be used to grow staple vegetables in the remaining 75% of the acreage. And that food will then be distributed to the people who live in the food deserts around Greensboro. They will also be taught how to grow their own gardens in their homes or their apartments or wherever they are. This is a sustainable project. We know it will work. It is also a pilot. So if it is successful, and it will be, we will roll it out in other areas of the district. So this is a large project that we're doing here for our people in District 7690. So the idea that it's important to know that the foundation helps us in our own backyard. So now I want to go to another subject, and that has to do with the Rotary Foundation and the money that oh, and by the way, thank you very much for being a Triple Crown Club 7 times. This is, for the guests here, we don't have any clubs that are Triple Crown 7 times in 6 years consecutively. So congratulations to all of you for what you do. But by being Triple Crown, that means that part of that qualification is you're 100% sustaining, which means that every member of this club gives at least $100 to the Rotary Foundation. What I want to talk about is the money that we give our Rotary Foundation. In my opinion, there's no better charity in the world than our foundation for helping us here at home and around the world. 91% of every dollar goes to programs. The other 9% is administration. Why is it so low? Because we volunteers are doing the work. It's a wonderful methodology and structure, and there's no better charity. It gets the highest rating by Charity Navigator, and it is transparent, effective, and absolutely worthwhile. Now, I've been on 2 NIDs, National Immunization Day, in India. And Randy Perkins was in 2015. I went 2014 and 2017. And an NID is where we go, Rotarians will go to India or countries in Africa or several places, but we've been to the one in India. And it's a matter of giving 2 drops in the mouth of a child under the age of 5. Now let me explain how this works. 1 million volunteers will immunize 100 million children in 1 day. It's an amazing undertaking. Now, the next day, we do a little bit of work as well. And the next day, we go from house to house. It's called a mop-up. And check every house, look for the children, see if their pinky has been marked with a purple marker. If it is not marked, it means they were not immunized the day before. 2 drops in the mouth of that child, we go on to the next house. So a polio immunization day, in reality, is a day and a half, but we go to India for 10 days. So what do? We meet with Rotarians, we go to Rotary projects, and we visit Rotary clubs. I'm going to talk about one of the Rotary projects that I visited last year. We were in a city called Dunbad. It's a coal mining town, and we went to a special needs school in which, that is sponsored by several local Rotary clubs. The special needs school had, I would say 100 kids between the ages of 2 to 18 with a wide variety of maladies. They could have vision problems, hearing problems, some kind of physical problem, mental incapacity, and they might simply be orphans, but they were deemed to be special needs. So there were between the 100 kids that were there and the Rotarians, and there were probably 20 or 30 of us between those of us who were traveling and those, the local Rotarians. We were all having a good time. There were presentations, there was a lot of laughter and a lot of activity. But I noticed off to the side, there was one young lady. Let's see if I can take this off. No, I can't. All right, I'll do the best I can. All right, there was one young lady standing against the wall in the corner. Her head was downcast. She would not make eye contact. I settled over to her. I wanted to see if I could engage her in conversation, and I couldn't. And as I was trying to get her involved, a woman came up to me with an eyeglass case and said, "Put these glasses on this young lady." So I did. Put the glasses on her. She was still downcast. She's still looking at the floor. But then eventually, when she had the glasses on, she started to look up. And when she looked up, her eyes got so wide and a smile came on her face because she saw for the first time. That's the power of Rotary. That's the power of one individual making an impact on somebody else's life. And that's what we do every day, whether it's one person, 10 people, 1 million people, 100 million people. Rotarians get things done. Now, I'm going to talk about polio just a little bit because 35 years ago, when Rotary was looking at doing big projects around the world, we had some money in the foundation, didn't know what to do. One person had the idea and then asked questions, partnered, and developed this idea, and the idea was to eradicate polio in the Philippines. So top level Rotary said, yeah, we can do that, partnered with some other organizations, and went into the Philippines, and lo and behold, eradicated polio. And then somebody said, if we can do it in the Philippines, we can do it everywhere. So 30 years ago, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative was begun. 30 years ago, 350,000 children were afflicted with polio every year. This year, there have been 14 cases. Afghanistan and Pakistan. This year might be the last year of the last case of polio. But it won't be the end of our efforts. We need to continue massive immunization and surveillance of the water supplies around the world, because that's where the wild polio virus lives. It lives in unsanitary water supplies. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I think you've heard of them, has said if anybody can do it, Rotary can do it. That's why the Gates Foundation will match 2 to 1 any dollar that we give to polio. So the $50 million that we committed last year, Rotary, the $50 million we're committing this year, the $50 million we're committing next year, will be matched by $300 million from the Gates Foundation. So we've got $450 million to surveil and immunize and make sure that we finish the job, and we will finish the job because that's who we are. We get things done. Now I'm going to jump ahead to the International Convention in Toronto last June. Great speakers, Laura Bush, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We had great speakers. But there was one speaker who really got my attention. His name is Jeremy Hurst. He's past district governor of District 7020. He got up and he talked about a water project. He said, we're going to go to Haiti, and we're working with some other government and other organization, and we're going to provide clean water, and our goal is clean water in all of Haiti by 2030, 12 years. I thought, you know, that's really cool, clean water, you know, because clean water is one of the 6 areas of focus. But then he said, if we can do it in Haiti, we can do it everywhere. 780 million people don't have access to clean water. How does it feel to belong to an organization that can eradicate a disease? How does it feel to belong to an organization that can provide clean water to the entire world? Who else can do that? Only Rotary can do that. We are people of action. We get things done. We simply have an idea. One person has an idea, it takes root, and we figure out how to make it happen. So I am going to repeat Donna's story that you gave at the installation dinner, because I love this story. I just love it. Walter Isaacson wrote a book about Bill Gates, and it was published, I believe, in early 2000s. And in 1984, Bill Gates was looking for a replacement CEO for Apple. He was going to be chairman, he wanted to go off on some other ventures. So he identified and interviewed John Scully, who was an executive at Pepsi. So they met a number of times. Steve Jobs is trying to convince Scully to come to work for him. Scully doesn't know if he wants to, because Pepsi's a Fortune 500 company. It has a lot of stature and status in the community. Everybody knows who Pepsi is. Nobody knew who Apple was in 1984. So Scully didn't know if he wanted to go to Apple. And in exasperation, Steve Jobs finally said, listen, do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world? That's what we Rotarians do. We change the world. We do it every day, one-on-one, or whether it's 100 million, 200 million, 750 million, or the entire world. Thank you for everything you do for Rotary. Thank you for making a difference. Thank you for being the inspiration, and thank you for belonging to this great organization. Thanks.